just like I promised in the previous video, here is an extract from myself and Gio's player ratings video, which is always hosted after every single game over on our Patreon channel. Now, I'm going to give you a little spoiler for the video here. These are the player ratings for Danny Ings and Thomas Souček. They're the worst. Out of everybody that played during that game, they are the two lowest scorers. And it's not just because we want to particularly dig them out. The reason I've chosen these two, and it is me, blame me, not Gio. The reason I've chosen these two is because it feeds into more of an overriding concern about David Moyes. Square pegs in round holes, all that sort of thing, basically. So, anyway, there you go. We're going to play the clip in just a second, but the reason we're showing you the clip, I've got to be honest here, is to try and entice you to join us over on Patreon, which is our paid subscription service. Basically, it's a third Hammers Chat channel. Now, because of those paid subscriptions, that allows us to do this as our job and produce content on a daily basis on the other two channels. Channels like this one, which is a free-to-air channel. We'd really appreciate your support because it helps us keep going, but we're not just doing it and giving you nothing back. The third channel, the Patreon channel, we think is excellent value. Well, Anton Ferdinand is a regular contributor, and he's not just one of those pundits that don't say anything. He gives honest, forthright opinions, and he is on with us all the time, exclusive to Hammers Chat Patreon. We've got the breakfast show. We have got opposition previews. Gio gets a lot of those right. If you want to know what the opposition are doing up ahead of a game, that's a really, really good series to tune into. That's on our Patreon. We have got, obviously, the player ratings, which we do after every single game. We got Two Spanners, One Hammer, which I think is the most amusing podcast out there in the West Ham media sphere, if you like, but I would say that, I guess I'm biased. We got Hammerlytics, which is a really insightful way to look at what West Ham are doing well and what West Ham are doing badly at the moment, what West Ham are doing badly. We got loads and loads of stuff with opposition fans. We had referees on there. Harry Redknapp's been on there. Tony Cotty's been on there. Tony Carr's been on. Loads and loads and loads of people. We think it's great value. There are 3 different tiers which hopefully cater for every single budget. We've got prize giveaways, we've got discounts in our online store. Honestly, there are tons of reasons to do it, but go and check it out. The link is in the description below. It's patreon.com/hammerschat. If you don't click that link and you can't find the link, there is a drop down section. And if you just Google Hammers Chat Patreon, that should take you there. Check it out. Go and have a look. If you don't like it, you can always cancel it. Anyway, let's go and find out what myself and Gio think about Danny Ings, Thomas Souček, and more importantly, the way David Moyes is wasting both of them.
Thomas Souček.
Well, so I'm just writing down the timestamp for what we're discussing. A couple of things for obvious reasons, Gio. Well, you just spoke about Lavia. Crikey, state in my bloody hair. Or what's left of it. It's honestly, mate. Lavia had a really easy day at the office yesterday with Souček. It was like candy from a baby. It was embarrassing at times, actually. Embarrassing. I mean, it was bloody awful. Bloody awful. And I don't allow anything. There's no allowing. I've got nothing to do with me. But I let some things go in my appraisal of him with the passing, the technique, because he brings the tackle in the head. Well, he's even shit at that yesterday. And it was so disappointing to see it, and it was very evident when Downs came on, because actually I often say, why don't we play Downs there anyway? Because Downs can do the tackling and the stuff. All right, does he give you the big physical presence at set pieces? But how many times were we heading it away from corners and stuff? It wasn't really happening. So actually, Downs can do the interceptions and the tackles, but also you also get the passing as well, and that was really evident because it was that I wrote it down somewhere. There was an interception, or whatever. It was interception in the end in the box, 80-something minute. Flynn Downs, really good. He was there. That was him doing the Souček job. Then also won it by the touchline late in the game, which resulted in Fornells putting the ball over Antonio. Really good work. Won the tackle, played the ball. Souček was bloody awful. He was bloody awful. And I tell you what, I think him and somebody else we're about to go and discuss in the game a little bit later on. Without that is on Moyes, and with actually proper people in those proper positions. it's Moyes' decision to basically look. If we accept that Thomas Souček has been changed from an attacking sort of Fellaini type player into basically a bit of a centre back that plays in central midfield, if we can accept that, that's David Moyes' choice to do that. That's tactical. That's him. He's taking one other player out of there. And when we do a Paqueta in a minute, we've not discussed him, but we've already said what score Rice is. When you've got Rice playing that well, and you've got Paqueta playing well next to him, to take the other midfielder and then try and shoehorn somebody in there who can't join. Can you imagine how good we would have been with 3 midfielders that can pass it? It didn't even matter. It didn't have to be down. You could put Lanzini in, whatever. We would have been so good in there. And what you've got is we're going through these player ratings now. We got 7s and we got 8s and we got 8s and 7s. And then we're going to have these 2 marks, which are going to be, absolute dog turd, quite frankly. And what they do, they're in these functional, pivotal roles on the pitch where it actually stops the rest of them playing. And what we're going to do, Jill, and we're matching our figures pretty damn well here. What we're going to end up doing here is giving 9 good marks and 2 crap ones. If your marks continue to reflect mine. Just those 2 extra positions. I don't even blame those 2 players. So easy to tweak that. And actually, we could have gone and put 3 goals past Southampton and not have sat back as much as we did. Look, Thomas Souček was bloody awful, I'm sorry to say. I'll be interested to see what anyone says about his passing. I know it's crap. I haven't seen these stats myself. I'm giving Thomas Souček a 4 out of 10. He can feel very, very lucky to get that. But I don't overly blame him.
I'm going to give him a 3 because I do blame him a bit more. While he shouldn't be playing, that's on the manager. But the role he was in yesterday, it's the Thomas Souček role. He shouldn't be struggling in that position. He should be fine. The worst team in the league playing. Not only are they the worst team in the league, they were playing like the worst team in the league as well. An easy game to look good in, I think. We've just spoken about how Kerr cruised through it, looked really good, but untested. The defenders, good marks, but untested. The midfield, it wasn't that difficult to play in that midfield yesterday. Southampton were hardly playing quick passing like Brighton do or moving quickly or anything like that. It was an easy enough game for our centre midfielders, and 2 of them played well and 1 of them didn't. But it's just the simple stuff. He was doing slide tackles and not winning them. He was misplacing easy passes. He wasn't winning his headers. There wasn't anything positive about his game yesterday. I felt sorry for him at one point when he misplaced a pass. It was the really simple one. It was like 6 yards out to Ben Rama and he put out for a throw. And he looked disappointed and stuff. And I felt a bit sorry for him. But then I thought, well, no, actually, I'm fed up feeling sorry for you now because there's no excuse for that. That is nothing to do with your position. That's just you. That's got nothing to do with your manager. That's a simple pass. That's down to you. And Paqueta done it as well. He wasn't the only one guilty. But terrible from Souček yesterday. I'll give him a 3. I'll double check for you. I'll get the stats up from FotMob now. Let's have a little look. Thomas Souček, here we go. He completed 11 out of 21 passes, so 52% pass accuracy.
Oh, man. That is horrendous. I saw it. We all saw it, but it's horrendous.
One of 3. Attempted 3 tackles, won 1 of them. Dribbled past 4 times. 3 recoveries. Won 4 out of 16 ground duels, so he lost
4 out of 16.
Yeah, so he lost 75% of his ground duels. Aerial, he won 2 out of 3. Committed 4 fouls.
Basically, he's been there for 2 headers.
Yes, and the player fact says Thomas Souček lost the most duels in the match, which was 13, which is impressive considering he only played 68 minutes.
It's such a bloody blind spot. Moyes got such a blind spot here. It's not like the stats are saying something different. The stats are backing up what we think we see with the evidence of our own eyes. It's great, and this is not an isolated incident. Well, it was the time before when we had the 9 passes in the game, which was 1 pass every 10 minutes. Then we had the one a couple of games before that, which was equally bad. He made 10 passes in a game, I think. This is not a bad day at the office. This is what he's like now. It's terrible. Yeah, looks demotivated as well, Gio.
It's not good reading, is it?
No. No. When he makes them, he's like this. When he makes the bad pass, he's. What can you say?
Anyway,
not good.
What are you saying for Paqueta?
Oh, he was.
Danny Ings, though. What are you saying for him?
Danny Ings. I'm not going to pull any punches here. We're just not playing to his strengths. Slow, firstly, slow player. Weak, and so why are we asking him to run in behind a defence or hold the ball up? I just don't understand it. I do not understand this at all. We got this wonderful, instinctive finisher who causes mayhem inside the box, absolute mayhem. We've not even got to look through the archives. We've already seen snippets of it at West Ham. I'll just be repeating myself if I talk about when he went off the pitch. Then we started to deliver the ball more suited to a fox in a box. You get that? I've said it already. But awful, actually. It was very hard to find any redeeming parts of his game at all yesterday from within the position he was given to play. And I could say that, yes, was he a forward? Yeah, okay. But it was the same sort of thing of almost taking a centre midfielder out and playing him left back or something like that, who doesn't really suit it. That's how bad it was. He was he an attacker? Yes. Was he out of position? Yes. And I think that's the issue. And because of that, we got to see all the bits he can't. That was basically a demonstration of what Danny Ings can't do. Can you run in behind? No. Can you stretch the defence? No. Can you deploy out wide? No. Can you play with your back to ball, back to goal? No. Can you head the ball? No. And that's what we were asking him to do. There's a whole load of stuff that he can do. I'm not going to talk about it now because we all know what it is. That one's on David Moyes. But we are doing the player ratings here, Gio, and the player ratings dictate that we mark the player. So I'm actually going to give him the same mark as Thomas Souček. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10, and when there are elements of sympathy within that because positionally, but he was bloody awful.
I'm going to give him a 5. Just bonkers. The fact that we played him with this team. When we did the preview, you said, I'll have 2 strikers, please. I said, well, Skamaka, we can't have Ings up front on his own. So what does he go? He plays Ings up front on his own. And the worst thing is, listening to his comments about Danny Ings after the game, just makes me, honestly, I want to throttle. He said, we're having a bit of a look at him. We're working him out a little bit now, and he probably needs people around him a bit more.
Crikey, he's so slow. He's like a sloth. I don't mean Ings. I mean Moyes in the way he's thinking tactically.
Ings has played in the Premier League for 9 years. There's no excuses to discover what Danny Ings is all about. He should have known. All it does is prove it was a bit of a panic signing from West Ham. It was like, oh, he scores goals, we'll have him kind of thing. But hearing Moyes' comments about Danny Ings after the game is incredibly infuriating. If he was to say, I'm just discovering how to work out Paqueta, not ideal, but I can sort of accept it. But with Danny Ings, I mean, no chance, absolutely no chance. I thought Ings worked hard. I thought he was trying his best, but like, he's just completely throttled in this. He cannot start against Newcastle in that formation. I mean, Southampton at home is one of the few games where actually you could maybe make Danny Ings work as a lone striker because you would be expected to have a bit more possession, a little bit more territory and whatever. But we didn't. The fixtures aren't going to get any easier than it got yesterday in terms of just moving the ball up the pitch and being able to utilise Danny Ings. If you ain't going to play 2 up front, I think you might as well forget it kind of thing, because he's going to struggle. He looked pissed off in the first half on a couple of occasions when the cross didn't come in earlier. Completely understand it. He looked pissed off when he got subbed off. Again, completely understand it. Must be infuriating for him. And can you imagine?
He was fed up. You saw he was fed up.
Yeah. Could you imagine Ings hearing what Moyes has said after the game? He must be sitting there thinking, "Hang on a minute, what? How have you only just discovered this? Like, I've been at the club for." Well, two and a bit months now in training every day. I've been doing stuff, and you've only just discovered how best to utilise me based on what I didn't do against Southampton, one of my former clubs. It's absolutely bonkers. So I'm going to give Ings a 5 because I've just got all the sympathy in the world for him, really.
Sure.
Yeah, that one's on the manager. Speaking of the manager, what are you giving him?
Well,